If you ever visit South Korea, it is very likely you will arrive and depart from the Incheon International Airport. Incheon is the modern and busy air hub of the capital city of Seoul and the country, though if you want to travel domestically by plane, you'll probably have to transfer to the city's other, older airport, Gimpo. Similar to other major cities in Asia, Incheon and Gimpo make up the dual airport system of Seoul. While Incheon is the main international gateway to Seoul and South Korea, Gimpo is more of the main air hub of South Korea with its domestic network. It also has a long history connected to the development of aviation in the Korean peninsula, so in this video we'll take a look at the history of Seoul Gimpo Airport, an airport shaped by the events of war on the Korean peninsula, to the airport becoming a main hub of South Korea. While the domestic hub, Gimpo Airport is one of the two main airports serving the capital city of Seoul, though it's not the city's first airport. Seoul's first airport was located 11 kilometers east along the Han River in the Yeongdeungpo district. Today, Yeongdeungpo is where a public park and South Korea's National Assembly is located, though in the past it was home to the Korean peninsula's first airfield, Yeouido. Built in 1916, it was the home of Korea's early aviation development and where the first flights over Korean skies took off from. Operating primarily as a military facility, it would eventually host civilian flights to Japan and Manchuria. In 1929, Yeouido was one of several airfields in Korea that underwent upgrades. With its small size, the government under Imperial Japan wanted a bigger facility in the area. The location selected for the new Seoul area airfield was further west along the Han River near the district of Gimpo. Built by Korean laborers, rocks were carried from other areas to build the base of the runway. With 4 runways, the airfield that would become today's Gimpo International Airport was first called Keijo New Airfield when it opened in 1939. Eventually, the airfield was fully completed in 1942. Within a few years, the newly opened Keijo New Airfield would immediately be put to use during World War II serving Japanese military aircraft. Despite being a military base, Keijo was never attacked during the Pacific War. Following the war, civil aviation operations would resume at Yeouido while Keijo continued to serve as the military base administered by the U.S. military until it was turned over to the Republic of Korea in 1949. During the post-war period in the mid to late 1940s, Yeouido would see airlines such as Northwest Orient, the predecessor to US-based Northwest and Delta, operate flights to Tokyo and domestic services to Busan. Korea's first airline, Korea National Airlines or KNA, was launched and operated its first flight from Yeouido to Busan's Gimhae Airport on October 30, 1948. However, the peace on the Korean peninsula would be interrupted as the Korean War broke out between the ROK, the South Korean forces, and the subsequently formed Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the modern-day North Korea, in 1950. During the war, control of the airfield would shift in the now divided Korea. In June 1950, the North Korean forces captured the Seoul and Keijo airfield. In response, the South Korean forces backed by the United Nations and the US military retook the airfield months later in September. North Korea again would retake the airfield in 1951 before the South Korean forces and its backers retook the airfield for the second and final time during the war. During the war, the U.S. Air Force renamed Keijo as Gimpo Air Base and referred it to as K-14 and administered Gimpo until 1958. Following the peace between North and South Korea, Gimpo would continue to serve as a military base for the militaries of the U.S. and South Korea. Yeouido would also continue to serve as the main civilian airport. However, Yeouido was known as a flood-prone area and the city and the South Korean government wanted to replace it. In 1958, South Korean President Seongnam-ri issued a presidential decree to designate Gimpo as the new civil airport, Gimpo International Airport for Seoul. All military activity at Gimpo would then be relocated to Seoul Air Base in Seongnam, though Yeouido would continue to remain open until it was officially closed in 1971. Ahead of the presidential decree, Gimpo underwent upgrades to get the airport ready for international flights, which were completed in 1957. As part of the decree, South Korea's national airline KNA would shift its operations to Gimpo. However, due to financial difficulties, it wouldn't be long until it was acquired by the South Korean government and renamed as Korean Airlines in 1962. The new Korean Airlines would lead the post-war growth of Gimpo Airport, as the airport facility saw a series of upgrades, including the construction of passenger cargo terminal buildings, runways, taxiways, and parking lots. Modern navigation equipment was also installed. In 1971, the current domestic terminal, Terminal 1, opened, initially serving both domestic and international flights. International flights would then be shifted to Terminal 2, which opened ahead of the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. By 1984, Korean Airlines would be renamed Korean Air, and it would welcome a new challenge from a second Korean carrier, Asiana Airlines, which launched in 1988. From Gimpo, Asiana would launch its first flight on December 1988 to Busan. 2 years later, Asiana would launch its first international flight from Gimpo to Tokyo in 1990. Amid the growth of Gimpo, the South Korean government recognized the limitations of the primary air hub of Seoul. Like many older Asian airports built in urban areas, Gimpo lacked room for expansion. Plans and later work would begin to build a new, bigger airport combining two islands further west of Seoul and Gimpo off the coast of the city of Incheon, Incheon International Airport. Opened in 2001, Incheon International Airport would become the main international gateway to Seoul and South Korea. Gimpo would be part of the dual airport system of Seoul, with domestic flights remaining while also serving international charter flights. Since the opening of Incheon Airport, Gimpo's role has evolved in the Seoul dual airport system. If you ever get the chance to travel to and from Incheon and Gimpo, you will see clear differences in the experiences at the two Seoul area hubs. The busy Incheon Airport features a modern, spacious design that represents South Korea in the 21st century. It is a contrast to Gimpo, which may feel dated, though you will see reminders of the country's aviation history. Incheon Airport is operated separately by Incheon International Airport Corporation, while Gimpo is part of the portfolio of Korea Airports Corporation. Both serve their purposes under the dual airport system of Seoul. Since the opening of Terminal 2, not much has changed at Gimpo, as it has maintained its two runway facilities since the late 1980s. Gimpo is the third busiest airport in the country, serving around 23 million passengers in 2024, trailing Jeju and Incheon Airport as the busiest air hubs of Korea. It is the home of the domestic operations of Korean Air and Asiana, the two biggest airlines of South Korea, whose merger was recently completed. In addition, South Korean budget airlines such as Jeju Air, Jin Air, E-Star Jet, and T-Way also operate most of the domestic flights at Gimpo. South Korea is well connected with high-speed rail transport throughout the country, so the domestic air network is small. From Gimpo, domestic flights are operated to just 7 destinations, including other major points such as Busan and Jeju. Of the routes from Gimpo, the Gimpo-Jeju route is the world's busiest domestic air route in terms of domestic airline capacity in 2024, based on data from aviation data company OAG. According to Flight Radar 24, the Gimpo-Jeju route is served by around 613 weekly flights as of June 2025, followed by Gimpo-Busan and the Busan-Tokyo Haneda routes. While primarily serving as Seoul and South Korea's domestic hub, Gimpo also serves limited international flights to major airports in Northeast Asia, catering to business travelers. Flights are operated from Gimpo to 3 points in Japan: Tokyo Haneda, Nagoya, and Osaka Kansai, 2 in Taiwan, Taipei Songshan and Kaohsiung, and 3 in China, both Beijing Daxing and Capital Airports, along with Shanghai Hongqiao. Airport operator KAC is envisioning a future of Gimpo Airport beyond just the conventional commercial aircraft. It is leading the effort to develop Gimpo to become a hub for urban air mobility, or UAM, vehicles. KAC plans to lead an investment worth around 2.964 trillion Korean won, with the help from the national and city governments and from other private companies, to build landing pads and intermodal transfer facilities, which includes Superbus Rapid Transit and urban transit by the year 2030. Gimpo has come a long way from serving as a military base that was fought over as the Korean peninsula was split between North and South. Despite the setbacks brought upon by war, South Korea became an economic power, and Gimpo would eventually serve as its primary air hub for over 4 decades. While Incheon has replaced Gimpo as the main international gateway to Seoul and South Korea, Gimpo Airport continues to operate as the main domestic air hub of the country. With reminders of the past, the airport has been an important part of the aviation tradition for the Korean peninsula. As its role evolves, Gimpo will continue to carry the tradition as a hub of Korea. That's all for now. I definitely hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This has been Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in the Asia Pacific. Thank you for watching and have a great day.